Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I am Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Now, Tennessee, this is going to be the second video we've done about you in as many months, and that's rare because we have not had a chance to really talk about the state of Tennessee very much. Now, for those of you who don't know how a state like Tennessee ends up on Washington Gun Law, only one of two ways it happens. Number one, you have done something so rotten, so sinister, so evil, so California-like, so Illinois-like, that we have to spread the word of what you're doing so that when your insanity gets to the borders of other states, they can at least try to stop it. The other way that you could end up on this channel, however, is you do something so totally awesome, so fantastic, to preserve the inalienable rights of your citizens and to make your community better that, well, we just got to give you a big ol' attaboy and brag on you. In Tennessee, that's what we're going to do today. You guys are on the precipice of passing a significant piece of legislation, one that I think everyone else in the country should pay very careful attention to because it's an issue that I felt very passionate about. It makes a lot of sense. And so today, let's talk about Tennessee. Shows everyone how to protect your schools. You watch the news, you read the headlines, and you know it for yourself. Your community is less safe than it was just a few years ago. So you decided to purchase your first firearm. But like everything else in your life, you wanted to do this lawfully and responsibly. So you trained, and trained, and trained. You learned the laws of self-defense and all the tactics necessary to protect yourself and your family. To this day, you continue to train, and you now live by the motto that it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. You are prepared for anything, or so you thought. Who are you going to call when it all hits the fan? Who's going to defend you for defending them? Who's going to stand in your corner when you realize that proof beyond a reasonable doubt means one thing in a high school civics class and something altogether different in the real world? Introducing Right to Bear, self-defense coverage that protects you so that you can protect them. With an attorney-answered hotline, you will always get a confidential conversation with your state's attorney. There are no cap limits for either criminal or civil defense. All forms of self-defense are covered, so from a fist to a firearm, you are protected. And you will have some of the nation's most passionate 2A attorneys defending you. And the peace of mind that you will have knowing that Right to Bear is in your corner, well, that's priceless. Listen, I've been in this industry long enough to know two things with absolute certainty. Good lawyers aren't cheap, and cheap lawyers aren't good. So visit my friends today at protectwithbear.com, and if you use the promo code WGL, you will receive 10% off. Listen, you need to protect yourself so that you can protect them. Visit my good friends at protectwithbear.com. Okay, Tennessee, this is what we're talking about today. We're talking about Senate Bill 1325, sponsored by Senator Paul Bailey. Now, there is a companion bill, a House Bill 1202, but really the one we're going to focus on today is Senate Bill 1325. Listen, I need you to understand how close this is to getting to your governor's desk because it passed out of the Senate Judiciary Committee on a 7-1 vote, and it's sitting on the Senate floor right now, which means if it's passed by the Senate, it is heading to your governor's desk. It's going to become good law. What does this do? Well, I think that this addresses a massive problem that we have in the United States, which is school shootings. Now, I don't think it's a coincidence that schools get shot up so frequently since most of them constitute gun-free zones. As a matter of fact, if you take a look at the statistics, you will see that way better than 4 out of all 5 mass shootings occur in gun-free zones. Wonder why? Probably the lack of armed resistance. Well, Tennessee, if this becomes legislation, you see Tennessee schools will no longer be a gun-free zone. Yes, there will be individuals, members of the administration, the faculty, the staff, who will be authorized to conceal carry firearms on school grounds. Now, just so you understand where the law is, Tennessee, and where the law is going. Right now, if you want to work as armed security on school property, you either need to be a law enforcement officer who's employed as a staff member of the school, or a former law enforcement officer who is operating under a joint written authorization from the superintendent of the school district as well as the principal of that school. And beyond that, nobody else can be an armed resource officer. This leaves almost 600 schools right now in the state of Tennessee that are not protected. And the example that I've always used is when every time we have a school shooting, why don't we use the September 12th example? The September 12th example, you say, yeah, you see, on September 11th, we realized that our airports were so unsecured that maniacs could get on the planes, hijack them, and do tremendously terrible things with it. From that day forward, we retrofitted all of our airports. We put sky marshals on airplanes. Why is that? So that it would never, ever happen again. Yet school shooting after school shooting, we've never done anything to actually protect the kids. Oh, we talk about taking guns from other lawful and responsible gun owners, sure. But have we ever once kicked around an idea of, hey, how do we just secure the kids right now? Well, congratulations to the state of Tennessee, because it appears that you're the first state to actually want to do something and actually make your school environment safer. Now, in order for a faculty member to be allowed to conceal carry a firearm on school property, to act as a school resource officer, understand that this law, if enacted, is going to come with several conditions. Number one, the individual must possess an enhanced concealed carry license granted by the state of Tennessee. Number two, you're going to have authorization from the chief of the local law enforcement agency in which that school resides. So we don't need this joint authorization between principals and superintendents of the school districts, but you do need written permission from the chief of the local law enforcement agency. And then this is really important, I think very valuable. You will have to complete a 40-hour certification course to first become certified to do this, and then annually every year you will also need to complete a 40-hour recertification course. The statute will limit what types of firearms can actually be carried on school properties, obviously limiting it only to handguns. And then, believe it or not, according to the legislation, there will still be a couple of areas within the schools where even armed school resource officers will not be allowed to take a firearm. I'm sure that will actually end up being enforced much more on an individual district by district basis. But the bottom line is this, Tennessee, is that kudos to your state legislature, because you guys are actually doing something about it. We get lip service all the time about how we're trying to save lives and make our community safer. And it is no wonder that gun-free zones predominantly take up almost all mass shooting locations. And so I am very pleased to hear that the state of Tennessee is going to use common sense, because the best way to stop a bad guy with a gun, shockingly, is a good guy with a gun. Listen, once again, it's Senate Bill 1325. We'll link it up down below. Again, sponsored by Senator Paul Bailey. If you guys got any questions about this or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights, you should know how to get a hold of Washington Gun Law by now. If you don't, that's okay. That information's down there in the description box as well. And then finally, let's everyone remember that part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation and how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching. Stay safe.